name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Tom Cruise's brother, Jungle Cruise. And I might be completely alone on an island here, but one thing I kind of dug about this movie and that I've actually really missed, and that it must have been like 3 or 4 years at least since I last experienced it, was that this movie was in 3D. I like it when movies are in 3D. When it's done bad, it can just ruin the movie for you. But when it's done right and things are popping out at you and it adds an extra layer to the movie, it just makes it all the more better. Like, that extra dimension is definitely felt here, and I dug that aspect of this movie. But that aside, I still had a fun time with Jungle Cruise. The first half of this movie just totally reminded me of Adventureland from Disneyland. Like, I know Jungle Cruise is in Disneyland, but it just, the entire atmosphere and the entire look of it just captured that entire section. And yes, I am one of those grown men who likes Disneyland way too much, but it still captured that vibe perfectly. The entire location in the first act of this movie was made from the bottom up, top to bottom. No, they don't make it from the top to the bottom, they make it from the bottom to the up. So, I don't know. The entire village, the entire dock area, that set was made specifically for this movie. So, I have to commend the production design, because the production design in this movie is beyond excellent. Like, it's amazing.
Welcome to Jungle Cruise.
And I just love the vibe this movie had. It just has this fun adventure vibe to it that we don't get too often these days, when it's just them on a boat trying to avoid waterfalls and doing all that kind of stuff. That's when the movie's at its best, because that's when it feels peak adventure movie. And Dwayne Johnson is really good in this movie. I'm not the biggest Dwayne Johnson fan. I think he's only in like 5 other good movies, if I'm being honest. But this is one of them, actually. I think he's really good here, and he definitely hits those comedic beats that he needed to. Because, yes, if you've been on the ride Jungle Cruise, there are terrible jokes, and this movie is filled with terrible jokes. And if you know me, then you know that I love terrible jokes. Terrible jokes are my favorite thing, and this movie is filled with some. And Dwayne Johnson just delivered them in such a pitch-perfect way. Emily Blunt is also great in this movie. Emily Blunt, she's excellent in everything. She's great in Edge of Tomorrow. She's great in Sicario. She's great in Mary Poppins Returns. She's great in A Quiet Place. She's one of the best actresses working today. And this movie just proves why. She has this energy to her. She's just instantly likable. She has charisma, and her chemistry with The Rock is perfect. And this movie wouldn't have been nearly as entertaining if it weren't for the 2 leads. Jesse Plemons is also in this movie, and he's such an underrated actor. Like, he'll do movies like this and Game Night, but then he'll also be in movies like Vice and The Irishman, and the guy's got range, and he excels in everything he's in, and he's definitely having a great time making this movie, and it shows. I loved him in this movie. Illusion! It kind of bums me out that we didn't get more of him. He's not in this movie as much as I would have liked, but when he's in it, he's just an utter delight. Because this movie is based on a Disneyland ride, comparisons made to Pirates of the Caribbean is inevitable, and I'm just saying that this movie doesn't hold a light to those movies. Like, at least the first 3. The first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies are perfect, and I will defend them to my dying day. They're excellent, just, I love them. And this movie is nowhere near that level of quality. But what bums me out is when this movie is clearly trying to take elements from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie and put them into Jungle Cruise. Like, this movie had its own cool adventure vibe to it, and then there's a moment. And if you've seen the movie, you'll know exactly what moment it is. But there are some supernatural elements that get introduced in this movie that just feels like, oh, they're trying so hard to be Pirates of the Caribbean right now. And it's impossible not to notice, and none of the supernatural elements really worked for me. Even with some of the more character-motivated actions in the latter half of the movie feels directly pulled from Pirates of the Caribbean. So in that way, it kind of lost some of its originality here. I will also say that the climax of this movie isn't as good as it could have been. I don't know how to talk about it without spoiling it, but I will say that the movie is setting itself up for a fantastic finale, and it's taking its time, And then, just like that, all the action starts to go down, and it just ruined all that slow build, and it just felt rushed, like instantly. Soon before I knew it, just everything was happening at once, and I'm just like, oh, is this? Like, I thought they were going to do more with everything that they set up, but they really didn't. So, I didn't really like the last act of this movie. That all said, Jungle Cruise is not going to blow your mind. You're not going to watch it and be like, this is the greatest movie I have ever seen in my life. But you know what it is? It's a solid adventure movie. I watched it. I had some fun with it. It had some great terrible jokes that I absolutely adored. It had a cool 3D experience to it that I've greatly missed. Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt are great, and they just ooze charisma. And yeah, I just had a fun time with this movie. So I'm going to go ahead and give Jungle Cruise a 7 out of 10. Okay, are you going to cruise to the theater to see this movie? If so, let me know what you thought about it down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon. And Gavin out.